Hello, IL residents. Jeff Avenmar coming to you live on the Crossings television station channel. How about that? Who would have ever thought that we could accomplish such a thing? Well, I want to say hello to you today in the privacy of your living room. As you know, it's hurricane season, that time of year again. We usually get together for sort of a big go-over here, talking about hurricanes and the hurricane plan for the upcoming hurricane season. As you also know, we usually do this in the chapel, so we have a great crowd. We usually have almost 100 people for this event, and it makes it kind of fun. We get to see each other, we can have a couple of laughs. Well, today I won't know if you're laughing, and after a few minutes of me talking to you, maybe crying, but in any event, we're going to get through this together. Julie's done a great job of putting together a packet of information for you that does have all of the slides that we're going to be showing here today in that packet, as well as a couple of outlines giving you some additional information. I did want to let you know that if you do end up having questions, and there always seems like there are some, you can go ahead and put them in the basket where you've been putting your questions, your daily questions, and we will answer them and get them back out either privately or in the newspaper, just depending on the context of the question. If we think it's something everybody will want to know, we might put it out in your daily read that Julie puts together. So we want to try to compress this and get it going. We're going to move right on to our very first slide. We are to talk about now sheltering in place. About a year ago, we mentioned shelter in place here, but almost no one had heard of shelter in place. Now, with COVID-19, everybody knows about sheltering in place, and everybody knows mostly what it is. Sheltering in place is a little different depending on what you're sheltering in place for. But for a hurricane event, what it literally means is we will be here at the Crossings. Our primary method of protecting residents and staff in an emergency is to shelter in place. And so what that means is if you don't have somewhere else to go for a hurricane event, you will be here. Now, I will stress that there are events where we still will leave. So our typical hurricane plan encompasses the idea that in categories 1 and 2, we will shelter in place here. Category 3 is a maybe because it depends on what corporate decides, and we will base that on what the weather predictions are. For categories 4 and 5, we will evacuate to our predetermined evacuation site in Bryan, Texas, and we'll go over that more a little bit later. Again, I'm going to remind you that our primary method of protecting staff and residents in an emergency is to shelter in place. So today's video really is about doing that, predominantly what you're going to do to prepare for that and what some other options for you might be. I want to take a quick moment and mention to those of you that may have certain serious health conditions. Dialysis immediately comes to mind. It is currently not recommended for any dialysis patients to shelter in place. Because you never know how long it's going to be, and it could quite possibly put you outside of the window of your next treatment. So if you are currently having dialysis, you really need to go to someplace else. If you don't have a family or a relative that can help with that, we will help to find you placement for this event. I want to couch all that also by any other serious underlying heart conditions. If you have some condition wherein you feel that you would have to make a doctor's visit within the time frame of a week or 10 days, you probably should also not shelter in place. So as you're thinking about your health and you're thinking about whether or not you would choose to stay with us during a shelter-in-place event, please consider that really carefully. It may even be a good idea to have a conversation with your primary care physician to ask about sheltering in place. Preparation. This is pretty straightforward. We talk about this every year. It's all very common sense. You should actually know this. So what we recommend, 3 gallons of water per person per day. That that you should be stocking up in your pantry. Now that sounds like a lot of little bottles, and it is. But the reality is that we could be stuck here for a week without being able to get to outside for any other supplies. So we really want to make sure that you have enough fresh water to make it through that time. We also recommend at least a 3-day supply of non-perishable foods. There's a silly little picture here that shows everything from, Kraft macaroni and cheese to Campbell's soup. And I know, since I have been in a lot of your rooms, that you do keep up some perishable foods, but let's make sure that they're good perishable foods. They're things that you actually want to eat, and that the expiration date isn't, 2015. All right, so it's a good time to go through your cupboard. Let's look at that. Let's make sure that we have some foodstuffs. And you definitely want to have a flashlight and batteries. Don't forget the batteries. The flashlight's not very much good without batteries, all right? So let's make sure we have a good flashlight and good batteries, and we do need to make whatever other preparations you might need to make for loss of power. I will remind you that in the event of loss of power, though we have a generator, the generator really only provides emergency lighting for the independent living part of our building. Medications. We all have them, right? Even myself nowadays, I have to take crazy medicine every single day. So we want you to remember that we would recommend a minimum of at least 7 days worth of medications with you at all times. Some of you, 10 days might be a little bit better. I would recommend that if it's at all possible. What you don't want to do is have some of those medications that are very important to the preservation of your health to be low or gone when we start that event. So please make sure and talk to your doctor about the quantities that you can have, and make sure that you have all of your medicines on hand. Remember also that if we did have to evacuate, you would need to take that with you. So it's not like we're going to be able to run to the pharmacy and just grab what we need. So please pay attention to your meds and any other supplements that you need to take on a regular basis, and let's make sure that you do have them with you, at least a week's supply at all times, minimum. If we needed to go somewhere and you have medicines that need to be refrigerated, we would walk you through that process to help you package those up to take them with you. So, let me just read this little paragraph. It is management's intent to provide assistance to independent living residents in the event of a hurricane and/or hurricane evacuation. With this said, it would be management's preference and strong recommendation that independent living residents would seek out temporary evacuation location with friends or family members. And I cannot overstress this. As much as you are attached to your apartment here, and as much as you may dislike that son-in-law that you might have to go stay with, I'm going to tell you that those accommodations would be better than what the accommodations are going to be if we have to evacuate. Now, sheltering in place, that's one thing. You get to stay in your apartment. But you must remember that it is quite possible that we would have electrical power outage, right? That would prevent you from watching your TV and all those kinds of things that you do. It also changes the structure of the quality of the food that we're serving, and we know this because we've had some experience now with Harvey. Depending on how long we have to shelter in place, we start going from steaks to maybe a bologna sandwich at lunchtime, right? So we do just want you to be aware that as the conditions change, levels of service change also. So we really, really strongly encourage you to seek out a place to stay off-site during any type of event like that. Even the 1 and 2 categories, I would strongly recommend, if you have loved ones that are out of the range of that, to make a plan ahead of time. And that's the key factor there, ahead of time. We want to have those conversations ahead of time. The reasons that I've listed in this presentation are family friends will have the ability to more closely attend to your particular needs and specific circumstances. And I know that most of you do pretty well on your own on a day-to-day basis, but again, during these kind of events, it's not a normal day. And so if you require some special treatment, some special care, or you just don't want to be stuck in the dark, you may want to consider someplace else. Travel arrangements will be much more comfortable, right? So I'm just going to tell you, if we have to evacuate, you're going basically in buses. It's going to be like high school band all over again. So, you know, while that's humorous for us to think about, it's not so comfy probably for some of you to spend 3 to 4 hours riding up to Bryan, Texas in a bus. So I think it's something that you consider. You like our little mule train here, you know. We don't have to ride on mules, thankfully. It is 2020 after all, but nevertheless, the transportation will be very congested. And then the biggest reason, probably, is especially during evacuation, accommodations are going to be dormitory style at best, gymnasium style at worst. You will literally be sleeping on cots or mattresses on the floor. Bathrooms are public style bathrooms or gymnasium style showers, because that's what the campus offers where we're going. Same with meal styles, cafeteria, which of course right now meal style, cafeteria style might be kind of fun. We get to see some people we haven't seen in 3 months, right? But I want to be very clear and very transparent about what those accommodations look like. The facility that we are going to, if we should have to evacuate, is a retired mental health hospital, believe it or not, but a church owns it now, so it's a great facility, has lots of rooms, has a commercial kitchen, has a big gymnasium, but best of all, they have the room to accommodate all of the people that we need to take with us. So again, please consider making other arrangements, especially for evacuation, and really I highly recommend in a true event that you make a choice to go and spend some time with a family member. And then emphasis here again that let's do that planning ahead of time. All right, so have those conversations. Like I said, even with the unfriendly son-in-law, I'm telling you, your accommodations will be much more comfortable there than they will certainly if we have to evacuate, but possibly even here in your own apartment. I threw a quick map in there. This is the campus. This is where we evacuate to at the Methodist Church. I believe it is the United Methodist Church in Bryan, Texas, but don't hold me to that. And you can see that there's no scale here, obviously, but it's a huge facility, and they have tons of rooms. And you look at all those rooms, and you think, well, Jeff, I can certainly have one of those rooms, but you can't. And the reason that you can't is you have to also remember that if we do have to evacuate this campus, it is not only independent living that we must manage. We also have to manage all the other care levels as well. So places or care levels like skilled nursing and memory support are going to require a lot more special care and special rooms. And so those accommodations, those types of accommodations would go through that hierarchy. So here you are. Should you decide the best course of action for you is to be evacuated as part of the Crossings group, we begin the process of getting you registered and prepared to leave with us. If that happens, we have a plan that laid out. In fact, in this package, or already you have received Greg's letter reminding you that it's hurricane season. And as storms develop, if they do develop out in the Gulf, you'll be apprised of where we are in our process of preparing for a hurricane event. And we unfold that information to you as that time gets closer. Like I always say in orientation, if there is one good thing about a hurricane, it's that we always know that it's ahead of time that it's coming. So it does allow us that preparatory time. Let's talk about your pets. Okay, so we recommend the same thing for your pet. Please ship your pet someplace else. You know, if you can't, we will definitely do our best. But I'm going to tell you that we will not be able to transport pets if they aren't crated. So, you know, one thing is for sure, if you have a little puppy or a little kitty, then you really need to make sure that you have a crate for that pet and that you can coerce or threaten or bribe that pet into that crate so that we can transport. We are not animal handlers, right? And most likely you would not be able to take that with you on the bus. I'm not sure how we would get them evacuated, but I can say that we would get them evacuated. But again, they're going to have to be crated, and once we arrive at another location, they're going to have to be sequestered in a place other than where people are as well. So, you know, we'll make arrangements for their feeding, and you'll get to do some of that when we get up there, but they're going to have to be kept in a space that's different than where you're located. I always throw this note in here. Remember that usually those kennels and those types of places, the local ones are going to close up during that kind of event, so they're not going to be available. So again, pre-planning here is a little bit important. We talk about being prepared in a hurricane. So that if I can help you to remember one thing during our little talk today, I want you to remember about preparation. And I want you to please ante up, what we say, cowboy up, right? Cowboy up, and have those conversations with your loved ones, family members, or just some friends that live out of the area. I know that during Harvey we had numbers of you that spent time in great other locations, you know, San Antonio. There's a lot of places that are relatively close by and easy to get to that completely isolate you from this type of event. So please take the time to think that through. I know I had one wonderful resident come to me, I think after the very first presentation I did a number of years ago, and she came up to me and she said, "But Jeff, I don't have anyone." And that's why we're here, and we get that. And we are going to do our very, very best to care for you, get you taken care of, do all the stuff that we need to do, especially for people that don't have any place else to go. We understand that. That's one of the reasons why we're here. We get it. So, you know, I'm not throwing you off the bus. I'm encouraging you to make the plan ahead of time so that you're prepared to be prepared for a hurricane event during this season. So I want to thank you for your time. If you have any questions, get them on a slip of paper, get them into your question and answer box, get them into the suggestion box. You can also have my email. It is freely available to you at the concierge desk should you need it. Any other concerns, please get with me, get with Julie or another staff, and we will answer your questions. It's been, I don't know, not fun. I wish you were here. But it's been enjoyable, at least to be able to take a few minutes and come into your home, and hopefully you have a smiling face on while we've had our time together. So enjoy, get your questions to us. We appreciate you. Thank you very much.